Welcome to the real Monster D. That would be me. But before you proceed any further, I must warn you. This episode is filled with warnings. The pieces of art I am about to present to you tell tales and proceed with cautions to you, telling you to not do or to abstain from certain actions. Now, I am not here to profess what your actions should or should not be, and I will not necessarily officially say that what I stand for aligns with the words of these movies, although they very may well. But just know that certain words, certain terms, certain things may come up on here that may be a bit triggering to some of you. So, you have been warned. Godzilla has long been famous as a symbol of warning, of caution. And today I want to highlight one of his movies, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, also known as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. Of course, this movie has achieved a certain level of fame for being an anti-pollution film, but could it have a second note of warning? Could it be telling us to abstain from something else, as well as pollution and, of course, radiation on some level? Well, the way this movie is filmed, with its weird editing, with its confusing music, out of nowhere animated sequences, dance sequences even, Godzilla vs. Hedorah very much brings to mind a subgenre of films known as head films, perhaps better known as psychedelic films. These are films made and or marketed towards a crowd who is looking for something to watch while being artificially inebriated, while being filled with essentially narcotics and looking for a world's escape. Many films fit into this category. Things like Pink Floyd's The Wall, 2001: A Space Odyssey, even a re-release of Fantasia subtly catered towards this head film crowd. And Godzilla vs. Hedorah fits right within that. Well, just think about the title. The title villain, Hedorah, head film. Coincidence? Perhaps. Now, the film opens with a shot, a montage of this sort of pollution and sludge and slime and things a little too gruesome for me to even mention. And then it holds for a moment on this shot of a clock in water, in sludge really, is warning us if we proceed in our actions, our time will come to an end. It'll stop. Well, going further, when is the first time that Godzilla himself makes an appearance and starts to attack? He does not attack Hedorah until the very first time we see Hedorah actually breathing in smoke from a factory. Godzilla actively stops Hedorah from smoking. How about that? And to drive the symbolism even further in, whenever Godzilla does appear, there is this iconic shot of him being silhouetted by the giant sun behind him. God is bringing the dawn, or authorities' flashlight, into the eyes of the stoned monster. Wow, how about that? And what about the people? The people in this film, what are they doing during all this carnage? It frequently cuts back to them in these sort of dance club sequences, partying and being completely oblivious. You know, there's even a shot where a protagonist looks around and sees people with fish heads. They're fish-headed. They are murky, like they're underwater. Their heads are clouded. And it is warning you that if you cloud your head, you just cannot handle the dangers around you. So, yes, I am saying it. Godzilla vs. Hedorah is not only a warning about pollution, but also it is letting you know the Godzilla is telling you to say no. Looking for a monstrous keepsake for your loved one? How about a monster on demand?
I was just so amazed just how many elements, personal elements, he got into this one photograph.
I turn your loved ones, pets, even yourself into highly detailed, personalized monster images.
The teeth! The teeth surprised me!
Order yours today at therealmonsterd.com.
My kids came over and they could immediately tell who was who.
And now enjoy the summer sale! All monster classes and monsters on demand are half price for a limited time only. I grew up in the just say no era. I can still remember so many of the public service announcements. Of course, there was "This is your brain on drugs." There was the Pee Wee Herman PSA. There was even Cartoon All-Stars to the rescue. But perhaps they could have saved all of that work had they just let us children listen to some Black Sabbath. What do I mean by that? Well, let us take a dive into the marquee Black Sabbath album, Paranoid. This is the album that really put them on the map. So many famous songs here. There's War Pigs, Iron Man, and of course, the title track, Paranoid. But there is one song not often talked about, and to me, it is one of the most frightening warnings of substance abuse ever put out there. It is called Hand of Doom. It begins not lightly, but lowly, with just a tap of the drums, a pick of the bass string, and it just slowly rolls into. It does not ascend, it does not build up, but rather it's a spiral downward. And the lower and lower it goes, the heavier it goes. It has this sort of pattern where it has 4 soft lyrics, like "What you gonna do," and "Time's caught up with you," and then it hits you with this wall of heaviness. From life you escape. It grabs you by the collar and throttles you. And it sort of dares and asks the question, why are you doing this? It tells you exactly what happens. And it has these 4 strong lyrics. Then it goes back down into 4 lower key lyrics. And it repeats this again, but then it goes in this full-on assault that just, to me, is the precise audio equivalent of a downward drug-induced spiral. It talks very much of heroin. It actually sets the stage for people actually dealing with this post their service in war, but then just spiraling down further and further. So it takes you from thoughts of previous war into a self-inflicted war, one with artificial substances. So, yes. The first time I heard this song, actually in a car with a friend, it gripped me and it grabbed me. This song horrified me in a way few horror films can. And I thought to myself, wow, I could not imagine listening to something like this, feeling all those feelings from the song, and then proceeding past the warning to do the thing anyway. And knowing the history of the band itself, you know that there was some level of experience that they had with these sorts of things. So this was not an artificial feeling. This was not a false, fabricated sentiment. This was real, and this was concrete. It was dark. And I appreciate that. I appreciate when someone takes that time to really jump into something super serious and just is relentless with it. Sometimes that is what we need to learn a life lesson and move forward. And let me tell you, maybe if more life lessons are taught through the dirgy doom and gloom of Black Sabbath, and we all give a listen to it, maybe we can learn a few things and elevate our lives up from these downward spirals I put ourselves in. Tell me, what do you think? Have you ever heard the Hand of Doom? Did it have a similar effect on you? What are some other songs that taught you warnings that you have heeded ever since the day that you laid your ears upon them? Let me know in the contents below. Looking for a monstrous keepsake for your loved one? How about a monster on demand?
I was just so amazed just how many elements, personal elements he got into this one photograph.
I turn your loved ones, pets, even yourself into highly detailed, personalized monster images.
The teeth! The teeth surprised me!
Order yours today at therealmonsterd.com.
My kids came over and they could immediately tell who was who.
And now enjoy the summer sale! All monster classes and monsters on demand are half price for a limited time only. Welcome to another drawing challenge. We have spent this entire episode presenting to you warnings about various things that make you sick. Warnings from Godzilla, warnings from Black Sabbath. So I thought we might take this getting sick theme all the way to the end, and I'm going to attempt to draw a monster that is sick, a sick monster. So with that in mind, let us begin. Here's my time-telling device, set for 5 minutes, and here I go. How do you know if a monster is sick? Let's see here. Have you ever even thought of or heard of the idea of a kaiju that is actually sick? I'm not sure that I've seen that too many times in fiction here, but let's see if I can do something to sort of give that feeling now. Let's see. Can you imagine what a giant monster going through all sorts of terrible symptoms might be like? Actually, those kind of wayward sort of symptoms and whatnot might even cause a monster to act up in dreadful ways and perhaps damage a city or some property. Let's see here. Maybe more so out of accident or incident than anything else. So, let's see here. What do you think a human sort of military or government or science community might do to try to alleviate a giant sick monster in the city? Would they actually try to help to cure the creature, to get it to feel better, to get it to move on, or would they take less friendly means? And if the monster is big enough and impregnable enough, would it even matter? All right, so I know the stereotype is to always send tanks and other various things in to deal with something like this, but there's also always a chance that a tank might actually not only backfire, but be covered in complete debilitating mucus. Oh, so that it is just effective anyway. Oh, 'cause this creature could be sneezy, running nose, perhaps not. How should we say? Um, Perhaps a little too barbaric to do something like try to find a giant equivalent of a tissue and just let things run where they run. So that seems like it would be a possibility. This creature will be sad and mopey as it jumps about. Maybe it would be going to the city in hopes of trying to find a cure. Might not even be able to know through lack of communication that this poor thing is just trying to find a prescription at a local drugstore. But perhaps some kind and thoughtful scientists would, at the very least, be able to find a way to know how sick it is and to gauge that by means of a giant thermometer. Oh, there we go. But the poor creature still remains sick, with crust under the eyes, with some redness. Perhaps it hasn't had a real comfortable sleep in days. The poor thing. Ugh. Do you think it caught a virus or bacteria? Or maybe it was something artificial. Maybe it was the opposite of the typical monster, and radiation actually makes it sick, like, radiation does to things. So that would definitely be a switch and a sort of a cliche breaker for kaiju, huh? Something that actually gets radiation poisoning. So there is a thought. Oh, that is time. Let me sign this drawing. And here is my poor sick monster. Oh, do you not just feel so bad? Oh, what do you think the cure would be? Well, perhaps to cure some ills, maybe this creature could watch another episode of The Real Monster D. If you like this episode and hope to watch more, then by all means, claw that like button and toll that bell so you can be ready, willing, and salivating for the very next episode of The Real Monster D. Stay monstrous! Roar!